Live from the studios at Brigham Young University, the award-winning 11 News at Noon starts now.
The case involving the former Utah Attorney General is over, but he is not finished with the courts yet.
The state legislature issued a call to arms to clean up one of Utah's most visited lakes.
Drugs and prescription drug abuse at BYU might be more of an issue than you think. I'm Allie Davis.
And I'm Sydney Mercader. Welcome to 11 News at noon. John Swallow says he's not the man in the court system that the court system has been portraying him as.
And jurors say they just don't have enough evidence against that former Attorney General. The court acquitted John Swallow of public corruption charges last Thursday. This perhaps ended the most unprecedented criminal case involving a politician in Utah history. Once the jury was dismissed, emotionally exhausted Swallow firmly hugged his attorneys. He then turned to the gallery where his sobbing wife and family members had held each other through the verdict. Swallow says that he is speechless and is grateful for his lawyers, family, and faith. The 8-person jury found Swallow not guilty after 13 hours of deliberation. They concluded that there was simply not enough evidence to convict Swallow beyond reasonable doubt. Swallow says it's difficult to explain what life has been like during the trial, but he's grateful that it's done and over with.
Investigators believe they have found the man accused of killing a Salt Lake girl almost 40 years ago. Authorities arrested Patrick Michael McCabe last week. He was living in Florida. Prosecutors charged him in the rape and murder of 16-year-old Sharon Skromeyer. Charging documents state he admitted to using a key to get into the victim's apartment. Police say they identified McCabe with a DNA evidence from the scene. It is the most visited lake in the state of Utah, but lawmakers say it needs some serious improvements. 11 News reporter Michael Ikihahifo shows us how the state plans to enhance Utah Lake.
Yes, Representative Mike McKell says it's time to turn Utah Lake into a gem. So if you take a look behind me, you'll see that this lake does appear very blue far away. But if you pan to the side of me, you'll see that the lake does appear brown, proving Mike McKell's point that the lake needs some serious improvement. Plans to develop a healthier lake has been a bucket list item for many years, but officials say it is time to turn that list into actions. The Utah Lake Commission office says its effort to reach out to lawmakers is all a part of their mission.
Honestly, the entire purpose of Utah Lake Commission itself as an entity is to help those who have management authority, if you will, on the lake, such as the state agencies or the cities, to be able to manage their areas properly.
Officials say there is a tremendous yuck factor at the bottom of the lake, from harmful algae blooms to leftover debris. The new plan will not only improve the lake presently, but for years to come. There are no specific details yet on how they will accomplish this. Well, authorities did say that it could cost to the lowest amount $100 million, but over the span of 20 years, the budget can increase to $1.2 billion.
Michael Ikihahifo, 11 News. Thank you.
Salt Lake City police are investigating the death of a woman struck and killed by a Union Pacific train. It happened yesterday afternoon near 500 West North Temple. Surveillance footage shows the woman wandering back and forth across the tracks with no apparent destination. Police are still working to identify her and to notify her family. Safe driving on the roads impacts all of us. 11 News reporter Mikkel Hunsaker tells us about the deadly decisions drivers are making and how UDOT is here to help.
Yeah, you may have heard it said, a split second could mean life or death on the road. Last year, Utah highways went only 186 days without a death happening. The Utah Department of Transportation reports fatalities have spiked since 2012. UDOT currently has the goal of 0 fatalities for Utah drivers. An official tells us it's not just a personal choice, rather it is our responsibility to practice safe driving habits behind the wheel.
We talk about the 5 deadly behaviors that are killing people on our roads. That's aggressive driving, distracted driving, drowsy driving, impaired driving, and then the #1 thing that we see on our roads that's taking lives, people not buckling up.
UDOT Public Information Officer John Gleason says he finds the deaths heartbreaking, especially when you think of the families, friends, and communities impacted by the loss of loved ones. In January, UDOT held a memorial for the 280 people who died on Utah roads in 2016. UDOT says there are currently 38 fatalities in 2017.
Where can viewers go to find more information on UDOT's 0 fatalities goal?
They can head over to our website for links on further information.
Thanks, Mikkel.
North Korea is creating chaos in the Pacific. The country fired 4 ballistic missiles into the Sea of Japan earlier this morning. These test launches have created tension between many countries and North Korea. Many missiles have landed near Japan, and the Japanese government says this is a growing threat. The tests have also left many Americans worried. The U.S. officials say they remain prepared to defend the U.S. and its allies from attack. President Trump issued a revised executive order on immigration today. His original travel ban caused international disruption and outrage before being blocked in federal court. Senior White House officials say the new order takes Iraq off the list of banned countries. It will also temporarily ban all refugees and eliminate extra measures for people seeking asylum from Syria. The previous order is on hold after a federal judge in Seattle and a panel of judges in the Ninth Circuit blocked the ban. The Trump administration continues to insist that the ban is not about religion.
President Trump claims former President Obama tapped his phones the month before November's election, and the FBI wants the Justice Department to discredit the claims. Reporter Andrew Spencer has more on the story.
The accusation by President Donald Trump comes amid reports that he is increasingly frustrated with his senior staff and his communications team after the firestorm surrounding Attorney General Jeff Sessions overshadowed Trump's speech to Congress last week. Now, even the tweets may be overshadowing Trump's message ahead of his new executive order on immigration.
This should be the sign that they need to impose discipline in the White House with the new communications director and get this thing back under control. If they don't, they're going to lose huge opportunity on big issues.
Meanwhile, the Sessions saga continues Monday as he amends his testimony to Congress, but he won't be doing that in person. His amended testimony and his responses to questions from Democratic lawmakers about his previously undisclosed meetings with Russia's U.S. ambassador will be submitted on paper. As for Trump's allegation of wiretapping, a spokesman for former President Obama called the claim simply false. The former director of national intelligence, who oversaw the intelligence community as a member of Obama's cabinet, said none of the agencies he supervised wiretapped Trump. Now the FBI, according to 2 sources with knowledge of the situation, has asked the Department of Justice to refute the president's claims that his predecessor ordered wiretapping at Trump Tower during the presidential election. One of the sources added the FBI deemed it more appropriate politically for the Justice Department to handle this. I'm Andrew Spencer, reporting.
When 11 News continues, the Utah Senate is considering a change to the age people can conceal carry.
And some students are illegally taking prescription drugs to help them perform better in their studies. We'll be right back. Students popping prescription pills to help them study better may be more common than you think. In this in-depth report, we take a look at the effects of taking a stimulant without actually needing it.
So then we're going to draw oxaloacetate over here.
BYU senior Jeff Brown is preparing to take the MCAT this May before heading to medical school. It's a grind each week studying for the test.
Probably 20 to 30 hours.
But Brown wonders if that's enough, especially when he is competing against students who pop prescription pills to stay awake. Pills meant instead to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, more commonly known as ADHD.
I think it might be unfair. Like I might ask myself, could I be doing better if I was taking a psychoactive drug as well?
One former BYU Idaho student admitted to me taking the stimulant Adderall.
It was like I went into hyperdrive mode. I didn't know what time it was. I just knew that I was doing this project and I was getting it done.
She says she got the drug from her boyfriend.
He was like, hey, I have some Adderall in my bathroom. Like, do you want to take half of it?
It was his prescription.
My boyfriend could get in trouble for giving me, was my first thought.
I found another student who abuses the drug.
I only take mine on test days.
This BYU student also says Adderall helps him study better. He admits taking it about 6 times a semester.
Because it helps you focus, gives you energy, kills your hunger. So if you're on campus for like a really long day and you don't have to worry about eating.
The student tells me if he wants it, he can get it.
I mean, there's always ways to get things.
I took my concerns to the BYU Health Center.
Do you fear that students are fibbing their way into getting a prescription?
We worry about that a little bit, and there's been some recent concern that there may be students that perceive this as a medicine that will help improve performance regardless. And really, in many ways, that's a false notion. Looking great.
Family medicine doctor Keith Wilmore says Adderall might not even give those students the help they want.
So deep breaths in and out through your mouth. But if your brain is sleep deprived, it's not going to retain the things that you're studying very well. You're not going to be able to do as well on the test the next day or the next week as you would expect.
Wilmore also says if you don't have inattentiveness, Adderall can actually make you even more distracted since it's a stimulant.
We'll have a quiz now.
Adderall is a Schedule II controlled substance drug, meaning if you got caught abusing it, you could be charged with a misdemeanor, pay a fine, go to prison, or even get kicked out of school. BYU Public Health Director Dr. Carl Hansen used Twitter to conduct a study tracking Adderall abuse.
We noted that students were abusing it during the times that you would think they'd abuse it, and that's during final exam times and also during the middle of the week when their studies are probably a little more intense. Hansen says about 15% of students across the country abuse the drug. Nearly 2/3 get it from their friends.
I've had probably 2 or 3 people ask me.
BYU student Kimball Hill knows what it's like to have friends approach him about his prescription.
Like, can I try some? It sounds like it's really helping you. And the other one was someone who had done it before that was just like, oh, are you in the business or whatever?
He says some people are willing to pay $25 to $30 a pill. Every time he tells them no.
It's an amphetamine just as other drugs are, other stimulants that can become very addictive.
But for students who actually have ADHD, the drug can be very effective.
It really helped me do better in school. It's helped me through college. I can notice a huge difference when I don't take it.
Unfortunately, not everyone who takes it has a need.
And on our campus, it's an honor code thing, right? The students are encouraged to live the honor code. And if someone is taking Adderall without a prescription, that's abuse, and that would be a violation of our honor code on this campus.
Dr. Wilmore tells me there is no blood work required to be diagnosed with ADHD, only subjective written and oral exams. He says this may contribute to the problem.
The Utah Senate is considering a change in how old you have to be to conceal carry a gun. 11 News reporter Abby Nemeth tells us what would it mean for people in Utah.
The proposed bill will change the conceal carry age from 21 to 18. Those in favor of the bill hope it will prevent more women from sexual assault. 18 to 20-year-olds would receive a special permit as long as they meet the requirements outlined by the bill. Conceal carry instructor Darren Meller says women ask him all the time if they can take his class before they turn 21. He says he thinks young adults in this age group deserve the right to conceal carry.
They have to register for the draft and possibly even go to war and defend this Constitution, but we don't let the Second Amendment of the Constitution apply to them. I think that's wrong.
Opponents of the bill say the brain does not fully develop until the age of 21. They think this could lead to irrational decision making. Meller argues that if a person receives the proper training, there shouldn't be anything to worry about. If the bill passes, it still will not allow people to carry a firearm around elementary schools or on privately owned property like the BYU campus.
A Christian drive-in theater bans a Disney movie. Police say one Sikh American was targeted because of his faith, and crimes against Jews are on the rise. This is your look at news from across the nation. The new Beauty and the Beast is soon to premiere in many theaters across the country, except for one drive-in theater in Alabama. The owner has publicly announced on Facebook they do not feel comfortable with a new element of the movie. People are calling it Disney's first unambiguously gay character. There have been both waves of support and opposition following the post. The Christian owners stand by their decision. A Washington state community is calling for action after a hate crime against a Sikh American man. Authorities say the victim was in his driveway working on his car when a masked man approached him, said, "Get out of our country," and then shot him. U.S. Representative Pramila Yalapala released the following statement. People of color are living under constant fear of violence driven by racism. Acts of anti-Semitism is on the rise against the United States. Jewish community centers are receiving bomb threats and Jewish cemeteries vandalized. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo made a trip to Israel to show his support for America's Jewish community. They visited the Holocaust Museum where he laid a wreath in their memory. Cuomo says he has zero tolerance for these hate crimes and wants to address them immediately. And that's your look at news from across the nation.
So Jessica, one day it's like snowing and then one it's sunny. Can you tell me why that is?
Seems like we might be getting a little bit of spring fever right now. Those winds picked up yesterday blowing in the storm. We'll let you know whether or not that snow is going to stick. We had a sunny start to the day yesterday as those wind speeds started to pick up later in the afternoon. Sundance experienced 110 miles per hour winds, so it got a little bit intense last night. Right now in Provo, we're looking at 32 degrees, humidity coming in about 56%. Will continue to rise throughout the day. Those wind speeds at 8 miles per hour. Not too blustery, but they will pick up throughout the day. So we take a look across the state. A winter weather advisory was issued up here in Logan, so we will see some scattered snowstorms throughout the day. Over in Wendover, we're looking at heavy winds coming in around 27 miles per hour, and down in St. George, sunny at 53. It's looking to be a little bit heavy of a pollen day, so those allergies might be impacted by that. As we head into tonight, cooler temperatures, those scattered snowstorms will continue up in Logan throughout the day. Down in St. George, a starry night. Let's take a look at that 5-day forecast for southern Utah. We're seeing plenty of sun today. As we head into the evening, we're looking at clear skies. A few high clouds gather on Tuesday, but for the most part, we're seeing a lot of sunshine. Temperatures climb all the way up to 78 degrees by Thursday. Friday, we stay in those high 70s, nearly reaching a blazing 80 degrees. A few clouds with those southeast winds picking up on Friday, coming in around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Up north, we're missing out on all those warmer temperatures. The average for this time of year is 50, so we're not quite up to where we should be. Those snow showers we've been seeing this morning will lighten up to a few flurries here and there as we head into the evening. Tomorrow, some clouds roll in as temperatures warm up, winds staying at a slight breeze. Sunnier skies on Wednesday with a high of 51. By Friday, we climb all the way up to 56 degrees. There's a 40% chance of rain in the afternoon on Friday, which will jump up to 79% by the evening. So I think it's safe to say we're going to see a shower or two on Friday night. Good news is we're not expecting accumulation right now, so that snow we're seeing isn't going to stick.
Good. I am so ready for the sun.
I am too. Warmer weather, I think that's great.
Definitely.
Finally spring. All right, so when 11 Sports comes back, an overtime thriller in Las Vegas. BYU women's basketball trying to stay alive.
I'm live here at the Marriott Center with reactions from fans who weren't able to make it to Vegas.
Well, BYU basketball brought the heat to Las Vegas in their first game in the West Coast Conference tourney. 11 News reporter Peyton Cram has some Cougar fans' reactions.
Well, some fans made the trip to Las Vegas to watch BYU play LMU. Many people were still able to cheer on the Cougs, but from the comfort of their own homes. What started out as a slow-paced first half turned into a tight, edge-of-your-seat ball game.
Oh! That was a nice dunk. My opinion is I think that BYU is going to win this game.
Kalen Cantwell was excited to watch his friends play on the big stage in the WCC tournament.
It's kind of cool to be able to see, like, oh, I remember guarding Nick Emery, or I remember playing against TJ Haws.
Cantwell also says he went to high school with Yoli Childs.
I like being able to watch him play. He's a good player.
Halftime brought more baskets, reactions, and food. The Cougars and Lions were neck to neck during the last few minutes. Emotions were tense. The guys could not relax until BYU pulled ahead with an 8-point lead.
That's our team.
Fans had mixed emotions about the game.
I kind of figured they would win. I feel like BYU has more talent than people think.
A win that they needed, but it was messy. That's kind of my emotion. Just a little bit messy.
If you think this last game was tense for fans, tonight BYU plays one of the nation's hottest teams, St. Mary's.
So Peyton, what happens if BYU beats St. Mary's tonight?
Well, Tyler, that victory would take them to the championship game.
Thanks, Peyton. Well, it was a big win for BYU. March Madness is in full swing in Las Vegas. The Cougars, a 3-seed, taking on 6-seeded Loyola Marymount in the conference quarterfinals. That's Elijah Bryant showing off his range to start the game. Next possession, Eric Mika sets the screen for Nick Emery, who drills the three. Cougars coming out hot. Then in transition, Emery again pulling the trigger from deep. BYU goes 3 for 3 to start the game, going on a 9-2 run. Second half we go. Mika off the dish from Emery, slams it down, trying to keep their lead on LMU. Then Mika draws the double team, finds a wide open Yoli Childs who flushes it himself. The Cougs seem to be running away with this thing, but LMU would not lie down. Just a minute and a half to go. Eric Johansson left wide open in the corner, cuts the lead to 4. BYU hits some clutch free throws down the stretch and escapes with the W. 89-81, Mika led all scorers with 25 points and 8 rebounds. Cougs now take on the number 2 seed St. Mary's tonight at 9:30. The winner will play for the championship tomorrow against the winner of Gonzaga and Santa Clara. Our women's team also started turning play, but San Diego looked ready to get the upset. Carolyn Bird down low gets the layup to jump out to an 18-point lead. First quarter was all Toreros. But the second-seeded Cougars have played from behind before. They crawled back into it, and it would be a battle down to the wire. Aubrey Ward-L, the star from San Diego, hits the clutch 3 to tie it up. Last seconds of the game, BYU finds himself with a 3-point deficit, but that's no problem for the WCC Player of the Year, Cassie Broadhead. Late game heroics, overtime we go. Take another look. Broadhead launching it from way downtown. The overtime period was all BYU. Senior Kalani Purcell not ready to end her collegiate career. And she gets the big block to stop the fast break, and Cougs will move on in dramatic fashion. Finish off the Toreros 75-66 in overtime. They play today at 3 against St. Mary's in the semifinals. Well, it's March, and that means college hoops is at its best, but the NBA had its fair share of madness last night. Let's take a look at some of the crazy finishes around the league.
Hill, it's his game. Here's Hill. Oh, it's tipped in by Gobert. They're going to ties it up with 4 seconds to go. Thomas loses the ball. A chance to win. Ulis.
That is tremendous.
Talking stick.
It's 8. Jeff was 7. Here comes Paul George. Tying 2. No. Out to the corner for 3. Got it. .6. And Indiana takes the lead.
Wow, you know, those were some great finishes, I have to say.
Great weekend for basketball. BYU's moving on. I mean, the NBA, you know, some good stories there.
Yeah, I would agree. Still to come on 11 News at noon. Today is dedicated to a cookie with more than 100 years of history. You better grab a cup of milk because today we're celebrating milk's favorite cookie. It's National Oreo Cookie Day. Nabisco created Oreo in 1912. The company originally called it the Oreo Biscuit. The cookie has gone through a few name changes over the years, but they have always been the wonder-filled cookie we love. Oreos are sold in more than 100 countries and a dozen different flavors.
Wow.
That is just really fun. I mean, what are we, lemon filled? Are we thinking lemon filled?
They've got birthday s'mores.
I'll take them all, right?
Double stuff,
years
though.
of making kids happy. I love it.
Yeah.
Good job.
Lunchtime is here. I'm getting really hungry.
I know. Get me a cup of milk. I'm ready.
That's your 11 News at noon.
For more information on our stories or to share them with your friends, check out our website at 11news.byu.edu.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.